programa Direito Sem Fronteiras da TV Justiça exibe uma série de entrevistas com embaixadores de outros países no Brasil. Nós queremos saber o que eles pensam sobre algumas das principais questões mundiais e especialmente como avaliam a relação com o nosso país. O programa de hoje é com o embaixador da Índia no Brasil, Suresh Reddy, que assumiu o cargo em setembro de 2020. Suresh Reddy teve uma carreira notável desde que ingressou no Serviço das Relações Exteriores da Índia em 1991. Antes de vir para Brasília, ele serviu como secretário adicional, coordenando as relações com a Europa e a Ásia Central, e foi representante do governo no G20, BRICS e IBAS. No ministério, ele atuou como diretor e secretário adjunto, sendo responsável pelas tratativas com países vizinhos e depois com a Associação das Nações do Sudeste Asiático. Suresh Reddy também serviu no Cairo, Muscat, Abu Dhabi, Islamabad e foi embaixador da Índia no Iraque e na Associação das Nações do Sudeste Asiático. Embaixador, muito obrigada por abrir as portas da embaixada e nos receber aqui hoje.
It's really a pleasure to have you here and I look forward to a very interesting conversation.
Eu gostaria que o senhor comentasse um pouco sobre a relação bilateral, desses dois países.
I think we are having the best of the bilateral relations. We are two countries which share a lot of values. We are two large democracies. We share the same respect for the rule of law. We are responsible members of the global community. We work jointly, we work in partnership on many of the international challenges. We are partners in the G4, under which we work for the reform of the United Nations and other multilateral institutions. We are partners in the BRICS. We are partners in the IPSA, which is the Association of the Democratic Countries. And also we are partners in addressing the challenge of climate change. So I think we are great partners on international issues. And bilaterally, we have a very healthy relationship. I'm glad to say that politically, our strategic partnership was initiated during President Lula's time. And today, the strategic partnership is really going from height to height. And recently, we had the meeting between our Prime Minister and President Lula, which is a big success, where we appreciated the growth in the relations and we expressed our desire to further expand the engagement which is happening between India and Brazil. And what is interesting is that we are cooperating in so many areas. It's a very rich cooperation. We are cooperating in agriculture, we are cooperating in culture, we are cooperating in films, we are cooperating in tourism, we are cooperating in science and technology, we are cooperating in space, in defense. So it's really a very, very rich area of cooperation which we have between our two countries. And on the commercial front, our trade is also growing very rapidly. Right now, it's around $15 billion, which, of course, it is good, but not good enough. And so our leaders have announced that we must keep a target of $20 billion, and we hope to achieve the target also soon.
O senhor citou a crise climática e eu gostaria de saber como é que ela atinge a Índia.
India, as you're aware, is one of the largest countries in the world in terms of geography and importantly in terms of population. And so we are a country which is quite seriously concerned about the climate change and its impact. So we were one of the first countries to support the Paris Climate Accord, and we have been working to fulfill our nationally determined commitments, the NDCs. In fact, I should say we are far ahead of many countries in addressing the NDCs. And we have come up with a very ambitious plan to address this climate change, should I say, to address the impact of the climate change in India. Number one, we have committed to reducing the carbon emission to become net zero by 2070. And the path to that is through multifold. One is that we are agreed to reduce immediately the carbon emissions by 1 billion tons. We have agreed to promote green and renewable energy, and we have agreed to have an ambitious target of 500 gigawatt, which is globally one of the most ambitious targets by 2030. And I should say we are achieving that target. We are already more than 230 gigawatt of renewable energy which India is producing. And for us, this extreme weather events is very critical because we also suffer from the heat and we also suffer from the rains. And so ours is a multifaceted approach to addressing this climate change, especially because India is also a large agricultural country. And so the impact on the agriculture is very severe. And today we are working to promote and identify climate-resistant crop varieties. And in this area, we also use a lot of technology, including, as you know, the climate tech, agri-tech, and all the related startups and technologies we are using today.
Bom, o Brasil e outros países emergentes sempre cobram mais contribuição dos países ricos para o enfrentamento da crise climática mundial. Na opinião da Índia, como é que deveria ser o financiamento para esse enfrentamento?
It's a very important topic. I must really appreciate that this topic is being discussed because this has been at the core of the debate. The developed countries are what you call the historical contributors to pollution, and while we are paying the price for the pollution, and at the same time the burden of meeting this challenge is being imposed on the developing countries. Now, what has been India's position is the same as Brazil's position, is same as the developing world's position, which is that, number one, the developed countries have to increase their contribution to support the developing countries in meeting this challenge. And right now, we were talking of $100 billion, which was a commitment made, but even we have not achieved that commitment. And recently in the Baku meeting which got over in Baku, it was increased to $300 billion. Again, we have expressed a strong dissatisfaction, saying $300 billion is not enough because it's the developing world which is facing the crunch. And here, the other area, when you look at $300 billion, actually speaking, what we need is more than $1.5 trillion. When you need $1.5 trillion, the $300 billion is not going to help you. And why is this important? Because we are talking of actually technology, and we need to make technology available. On one hand, financing is not available. On the other hand, access to technology is not being provided. And so in this situation, it becomes a very challenging task for the developing countries to address to mitigate this climate change. So we are concerned about this lack of financing, and we do hope that developed countries would increase their contribution and enable and support the developing countries in meeting this challenge.
Embaixador, que resultados a Índia gostaria de ver da COP30 a ser realizada aqui no Brasil?
It's a very important COP30, I should say. I was just going through, the outcomes of the previous COP and what is the expectation of the COP30. So I just, made a few points for the benefit of our viewers. This is going to be a very important COP, because we are going to be doing a global stock take about what is the progress made since the agreement was concluded in Paris. And second is that in addition to the global stock taking, we believe that this COP should also focus on addressing the challenge of technology transition. How do we, technology transfer? How do we make technology accessible to all the developing countries? And then, of course, the increasing the climate finance commitments by the developing countries. And here we also focus on the green technologies primarily. We want to see greater green technologies being transferred to the developing countries. And we also want to strengthen the international cooperation, because this is a common challenge for the world. And unless we join hands, it will be difficult for us to find solutions. And Brazil is a true leader of the global south. It is a leader of the global community. And so we believe under Brazil's leadership, we would be able to have a very meaningful and outcome-oriented COP. And our good wishes are there to Brazil, and we are here as partners of Brazil to support them in their efforts in achieving success in the COP30.
Bom, existe uma preocupação crescente em todo mundo com o papel desempenhado pelas redes sociais. Como é que a Índia lida com isso? As redes devem ser absolutamente livres para publicar o que quiserem ou deveria haver algum tipo de regulamentação?
I think this is a global problem. Every country is trying to find a solution, and it's a bit of a difficult task, really. Insofar as India is concerned as a democracy, naturally that shapes our approach to this challenge. And we believe as a democracy, we acknowledge and respect the right of every citizen to share information and also to be critical in his opinions. Critical of the government, we respect criticism. We respect the fact that every citizen has a right to provide his opinions, but subject to certain safeguards. And these safeguards are primarily on hate speech or on children-related areas or on religion-related matters, basically to avoid what we call social disharmony. But otherwise, we are broadly committed to supporting full freedom in the social media platform. And we have also laid down a law in 2021 under which the certain set of guidelines have been laid for the social media platforms, guiding them on the terms of content which can be posted, which can be allowed to be posted in them.
Embaixador, daqui a pouco a gente continua a conversa.
Sim.
Fique conosco porque na sequência você continua a acompanhar a segunda parte da nossa entrevista com o embaixador da Índia no Brasil. É um instante. Estamos de volta com o Direito Sem Fronteiras e hoje o nosso convidado é o embaixador da Índia no Brasil, Suresh Reddy. Embaixador, há um consenso grande sobre a necessidade de reformas na ONU. Na avaliação da Índia, quais reformas seriam prioritárias?
We look at the reforms in the UN from both, one, reforms of the Security Council, and second, functioning of the General Assembly. Today, evidently, the United Nations, which was established when 1947, after the Second World War, is not truly reflective of current reality. Since then, as we say, a lot of water has flown. It does not reflect the current state of development globally, and it is not able to find solutions to the global challenges. And in this situation, we believe there is an urgent need for reforms of the United Nations, including the Security Council and the General Assembly. For the Security Council, evidently, we want the decision-making process to be more expanded. We want to have the membership expanded so that all the geographies can be suitably reflected, including especially from Africa and Latin America. And here we support the aspirations of our friends from Africa, and we look forward to the reforms happening sooner than later. Insofar as the General Assembly is concerned, again, we want to streamline their functioning. We want to make them more, the decisions to be more outcome oriented from the General Assembly also.
O Conselho de Segurança da ONU, então, deveria ser ampliado e que países deveriam ganhar um assento permanente?
Yes, as I mentioned, we want the Security Council to be expanded. And while many countries do have aspirations, I believe the four leading countries which are looking at the expanded Security Council membership would be the members of the G4, as we call them, which is Japan, Germany, Brazil and India.
Bom, o Brasil reivindica assento permanente. A Índia apoia?
Yes, we fully support Brazil's aspirations.
E a Índia também reivindica assento permanente.
Naturally, India also believes it is a rightful contender to be a member of the UN Security Council by virtue of its size, by virtue of its population, by virtue of the role it plays in the global community. So naturally, India is very an ideal member for the expanded Security Council membership under the permanent category. And we are also looking at expanding the non-permanent category, under which we do believe we should open the door for having more members in that also, especially from the developing world.
E o direito a veto dos membros do Conselho deveria ser mantido?
The debate is always there about the usage of the veto and whether the veto should be retained. But our position has been quite clear that yes, it should be extended also to the new permanent members of the Security Council.
Bom, existem também propostas de reformas em outros organismos internacionais, como o Fundo Monetário Internacional e o Banco Mundial. Como é que a Índia vê essas propostas?
In fact, this is a very, very important subject. Because why? We believe that the current structure of the international financial institutions, whether it's the World Bank or the IMF, are not able to find solutions. They're not able to provide solutions to the challenges facing the developing world. When we talk of sustainable development, that sustainable development has to be backed by adequate financing. And today, these institutions are not able to provide that financing. And so, we believe there is an urgent need for reforms of these multilateral financial institutions. And in fact, that has been a key subject which has been under discussion in the G20 also. Again, I'd like to congratulate Brazil on that, on the progress made in terms of identifying, increasing the quota allocation, increasing the funding allocation to the multilateral financial institutions. Brazil has done some excellent work in that during the G20 presidency.
A Índia é um país grande, o mais populoso do planeta, a quinta economia global. Que papel o país quer exercer no mundo de hoje?
We are a large country, and as you correctly said, the largest population globally. And so the first priority for India, right, is to promote our national interest. And our national interest is determined more by also our desire for socio-economic growth, number one. And number two, we know that growth can happen when there is global peace. And so we are committed to supporting global peace. And third, we believe in international cooperation. We believe in the international organizations. And so the third area of focus for us would be to support multilateralism. Multilateral world order is what we fully support. And then, of course, along with that, relevant partnerships, whether it is a global level partnerships or whether it is regional partnerships, that is what we also believe in mutual benefit. And then today, as you know, India is a country of civilization. It's a civilization which is more than 5,000 years old. And so we believe in the soft power of India, and we believe in promoting peace around the world. And so we are essentially looking to play a very active role as a responsible member of the global community and work with our friends around the world, with the global community, in finding solutions for the shared challenges, whether it is climate change or whether it is a challenge of sustainable development or whether it is a challenge of food security or poverty. We believe in partnerships and we work to find solutions jointly with our friends.
Embaixador, o Pacífico, mais especificamente o Mar da China, passa por um momento de tensão. Por um lado, surgiram alianças militares, como a AUKUS, formada pela Austrália, Estados Unidos e Reino Unido, e ainda a Quad, entre Austrália, Estados Unidos, Japão e Índia. Por outro lado, a China amplia a presença no mar. O senhor pode nos ajudar a entender melhor esse momento?
As I mentioned earlier, that India is for peace, and we look at the Indo-Pacific region, including the South China Sea, as a space for cooperation, as a space for security and stability. It is very important when we look at it from the perspective of socio-economic growth aspirations of all the member countries in the region, number one. Number two, when you talk of the Quad, there are many descriptions about the Quad. There are many writings about what is the objective of the Quad and what does it stand for, etc. But I can tell you fundamentally the Quad focuses on promoting a free, open, inclusive and a rules-based Indo-Pacific region. Okay, it's very important to note rules-based Indo-Pacific region. And here when we again look at the focus areas of cooperation, by and large, the many areas in which the Quad is focused upon is maritime security relief, maritime security, of course, disaster relief. Then we are looking at supply chain resilience. We are looking at manufacturing of vaccines. We are looking at essentially cooperating on socio-economic issues, which is not only for the benefit of the 4 member countries, but importantly for the region at large.
Como é que o senhor avalia a proposta feita por países do sul global de substituição do dólar por outras moedas em transações internacionais?
I would say, number one, there is no proposal made by the global south to replace the dollar. Some countries have been making statements about it, but not India. Our largest trading partner is the US. We appreciate the stability provided by dollar to the global economy, and while insofar as the statements are being made, we do not agree with those statements being made about removing the dollar or whatever. That is not correct. we do not support any such efforts to undermine the dollar or to remove the dollar as a global trading currency. We do not have any interest in weakening the dollar, and this was also very clearly stated by our foreign minister very recently. He clarified the position on that.
Qual é o papel do BRICS na avaliação do senhor? Que caminhos ele deve seguir? Ele deve ser ampliado ainda mais?
BRICS is an institution, it's an organization which came about as a grouping of countries meant to cooperate and collaborate, again, for socio-economic reasons, to support the socio-economic growth of the member countries. And so basically it has been working on economic collaboration, it has been promoting multipolarity, it has been cooperating on food security, on science and technology, on maritime cooperation, various areas of basically social and economic cooperation. And that is the path it would be continuing in the future also, that it is a vehicle for promoting socio-economic cooperation. Fundamentally, that is what it is, number one. And number two, when we look at should we expand further, every expansion brings its own challenges, right? The new members have to settle down, they have to get used to the existing organization, etc. And so we believe it's a work in progress and it will happen at its own time. Maybe, I'm not sure whether it will happen immediately or it will take some time. We'll have to wait and see, because we need to give time for the new members to adapt to the structures that have already been created in the BRICS.
Embaixador, agradeço demais a entrevista. Dhanyavad. Thank you, obrigada.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure to answer your questions. And I must congratulate you. You said Dhanyavad very well. So I'll say muito obrigada. It was a pleasure to be here. And thank you for this opportunity from the Justice TV, for being in this show and for talking also to all the viewers through you. Thank you.
Muito obrigada também a você que nos acompanhou. Se quiser conferir o nosso conteúdo, basta digitar @Rádio TV Justiça que você nos encontra nas redes sociais. Até a próxima. Tchau.